people talk a lot about recovery, and a lot of the facilities out there are based on recovery. And yes, of course, we all want to get better, and we all want to progress, and we all want to recover per se. But that recovery looks very different for a lot of people, especially when you're talking about spinal cord or neurological injuries. Some people may not make a full recovery. I've been doing this 16 years, and I just feel like I would have faced a lot of disappointment if I only kept my mind focused on the end game. But I discovered that if I focus on the day-to-day, my strength and my health and my overall quality of life, that things would fall into place the way that they should, and I would be healthy enough to live.
It's going to be a really neat behind the scenes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so weird.
Because something always magical happens.
Wait, what? Did you just make that up? Hey, it's Meredith for Real, the Curious Introvert. Listen each week as I talk with someone new. The topics are as ADD as I am, but they'll inspire you to stay curious and grow. Big thanks to our location sponsor, the UWF Historical Trust.
Hey, Curiositors, it's me, Meredith. Thank you so much for choosing to spend time with me today. There are a jillion great podcasts out there, and it means a ton that you would spend your time listening to this one. And if you're new here, welcome. I started this podcast in 2019 as a project to inspire people to choose curiosity over judgment. I especially like shining light on people who defy categories or are a paradox. And each guest brings a personal development opportunity along with their story so you can stay curious and grow. Now, lately, I keep running into people who are making the decision to be healthy, some of them for the first time in their lives. And for those who didn't grow up like that, transitioning into an athletic mindset can be a super awkward shift. You can easily compare yourself to others, choose a metric of success that isn't super sustainable, and just generally feel out of place. This week's guest talks about how her athletic mindset helped her through rehab after her spinal cord injury and provided the drive to reframe what winning looked like. She even opened an adaptive gym to help others focus on capability versus disability. So if you're someone who's gearing up for the first time for healthier habits, or maybe you have a habit of starting and stopping, this is going to be an energy-giving episode for you. I think you're going to love it. Enjoy the show. During her sophomore year of college, an accident at her university softball practice left her paralyzed from the chest down. Not one to underachieve, she has since completed her degree, competed in a pageant, a dance competition, and opened an adaptive gym. The gym is called Project 7, named after her softball number and the 7 core covenants that support the idea that fitness is not just a sweaty selfie, but a lifestyle of movement and wellness. Today, she's going to share her story, how the idea for the gym came about, and explore the idea of an athletic mindset as an essential asset. Thrill seeker, softball badass, and beauty queen, Tara Blackwell.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, you too. But girl, we gotta talk, because I am a former soccer goalie, okay, and you're a softball chick. We are not beauty pageant women. So what is up? What happened? Why did you do Miss Florida Wheelchair?
Well, I had kind of followed the platform for a while, and someone reached out to me and said, hey, I see that you have a platform yourself, and you're trying to raise awareness for it, and I think that it's something that a message that could be, spread throughout the nation and beyond, not just, in your hometown. And this may be a good opportunity for you. And at first I was like, that's a joke. Again, to each their own, but I grew up with dirt and cleats. And so anyway, I, took the opportunity because it was, I felt like a good chance to really get my message out there. So I did it. And I was 4th runner-up, and it was a really cool experience, and I met a lot of incredible women with other incredible platforms. So it was definitely a blessing.
It's pretty amazing. I didn't even know that that was a thing.
Yeah,
So
I don't think I did either.
Well, take me back to your softball practice at Troy University, the day that your accident happened. How did all of that come about with your spinal cord injury?
So it was my sophomore season. It was 2005, and I was actually in Nashville at the time. We were in Nashville for an away trip. We had a game on a Friday and on a Sunday. And on the Saturday in between, we were practicing. We had all gotten done, and we were just kind of right outside the batting cages. And I used to always turn flips and goof off and, try to entertain the team. And we all, like a group of us, ended up doing cheerleading stunts, like just kind of messing around. And I was doing flips where, you walk in and step into someone's hands and push off and flip back. And the person and I were just out of sync. And, when I went back, I landed on my head and was immediately paralyzed.
Wow. Were you aware that you were immediately
I
paralyzed?
was. And it's strange. I tell people all the time, I don't know that I really knew what that meant before, but it was like in my mind, I was like, this is it. I'm paralyzed. I could tell that, when my head hit the ground, I didn't feel, like it happened so quickly that I didn't feel my feet hit the ground.
How quickly after that did you start your initial rehab?
I was in ICU for 1 week in Tennessee, and then I was flown over to the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, which is a specialty hospital for brain and spinal cord injuries. And I spent 3 months there in rehab. So once I was out of the intensive care phase, they started getting me down on the floor for, down on the second floor for physical and occupational therapy. And so I did that for a good 3 months, 2 months inpatient and 1 month outpatient before coming home.
That's quick.
Yeah.
If you think about like your life has changed in a blink of an eye, you spend a week in ICU, head still is reeling, and then boop, now you're in rehab.
Yeah.
I spoke with a man who actually had 2 spinal cord injuries, but his first one he was very close to the age that you were in yours, and he had such a hard time reconciling his identity. He was also an athlete. He was a football player. He had a hard time reconciling his identity as an athlete and his identity in the community of people with disabilities, and he resisted it for a long time. Did you have any other sticky thoughts around identity or your athletic identity after your accident?
That's a really good question. First of all, I think everybody copes and manages so very differently, regardless of whether we're athletes or, very different personalities. But for me, the very first group of people that were there was my softball team. And it sort of, I think, instilled in me that I would always be that same person to myself, to them. I would always be that athlete. And I think that mindset, my athletic mindset, and that mindset of determination sort of stuck with me. As soon as I started my physical therapy, that's the approach that I took. It was like a competition, with myself. So I'm very grateful for having that sort of background and that kind of determination.
That competitive nature.
Yes.
That's so funny that you brought that up, because I was thinking about that in relationship to the athlete mindset and how valuable it is. But that scoreboard will get you too, because you compare yourself to others.
Yep.
Was that a challenge for you when you were going through rehabilitation, that the scoreboard now looked totally different?
I think so. I mean, I think especially with spinal cord injury, something you learn is they all look so very different. And so, I had one of my roommates next to me. There were 5 girls in one room, just divided by curtains. And the young lady next to me had a higher level injury than me, but was recovering a lot faster. And so I think that in and of itself is kind of, a game changer, when you're watching someone who you think has the same type of injury and they're getting better, or maybe someone who's not getting, as better as quickly as you are. It's just life changing, and I think there's no right or wrong way to go about it. You just have to find it within yourself to keep going day to day, and it's a very, very slow process, no matter what the end result looks like.
Mm-hmm. Which can definitely be hard for those of us who are more competitive in nature, because, when you're on the, I say field, I'm thinking soccer, but when you're on the field, and I was, a soccer goalie, so if the other goalie was doing something better, it was because she knew her angles better.
Right.
It was something that the coach could teach me too. The only thing, I couldn't change is if like she was just taller or she had bigger hands. But so when you come from that mindset and then you try to apply it to everything around you, and now suddenly you're, to use the athlete analogy, you're in a different game.
Yes.
With the woman beside you being a more severe injury and she's recovering, you're like, wait a minute, I'm playing by the rules. Why aren't I winning?
Right. And with the spinal cord, that's exactly right, because it's, sometimes the case is, no matter how hard you're working or how much effort you're putting into it, you may not get better or may not make any changes, or maybe not at that time. So it can be very discouraging, especially when you're used to being able to put in work to get better.
Yeah, a formula.
Yeah.
How did you feel like your identity as an athlete evolved once you started to gain progress in your rehabilitation?
I feel like, as far as identity goes, I don't feel like that ever changed, even to this day. That's still kind of how I approach life, and I was taught from a very young age, especially through sports, that it takes hard work and dedication to, not only to maintain but to continue to progress, and I feel like that is sort of my approach to life in general. So as far as my identity goes, I feel like it's sort of sustained throughout the years.
Yeah, that is core to who you are and how you operate.
Yes.
That makes total sense. I think that you can tell adults who have been athletes. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what it is, whether it's their work ethic but you can just tell that they bring something different to the table. Mm-hmm. With your experience at the gym, having so many different people come in, what differences do you see in those who were athletes or are athletes versus those who have never been?
Well, they definitely take differently to me yelling at them. No, we joke all the time, because I get in there and I'm like, I put myself back in the gym, prior to my accident, and I get to where I'm like yelling and cheering people on, and some people are there just, it's therapeutic for them, and they don't have a history in athletics, so it's funny, but they all, I think, what I have learned, and to my surprise, is that everybody in there has developed sort of the competitive nature per se, and they go in there more so competing with themselves, like we were talking about, and it's whether they be an athlete or not, it's interesting to see them take on that. Okay, they get in that atmosphere, which is what it's for, so that's been pretty cool to see.
And they get used to Coach Tara.
Yes. Yes.
Is your inner coach voice the same as your outer coach voice?
No.
What does inner Coach Tara voice
inner
sound
coach
like?
Is much more inappropriate. No.
That's another podcast to be continued.
Yes, exactly. No, it really is. I have a strong will and spirit myself, so that's what, I portray to everyone else, especially in that atmosphere. So yes, I would say so.
How did you become inspired to start the 7 Project?
Well, of course, like we talked about, I started my physical and occupational therapy right away. So I was in different settings throughout the last, decade of different sort of therapies and different sort of approaches. And I think that the one thing that I took from it was, in those settings, I thrived the most when I was treated like an athlete, or when I was treated like, when I was pushed and motivated, as opposed to just, going through a checklist. And I discovered through those years that, in order to, people talk a lot about recovery, and a lot of the facilities out there are based on recovery. And yes, of course, we all want to get better, and we all want to progress, and we all want to recover per se. But that recovery looks very different for a lot of people, especially when you're talking about spinal cord or neurological injuries. Some people may not make a full recovery. I've been doing this 16 years, and I just feel like I would have faced a lot of disappointment if I only kept my mind focused on the end game. But I discovered that if I focus on the day-to-day, my strength and my health and my overall quality of life, that things would fall into place the way that they should, and I would be healthy enough to live, whatever sort of life I wanted to live.
So you said your end game. Do you have a long-term goal?
If you're talking about physical state, no, because I have learned enough to know that that's sort of out of my control and unknown. I think it was about 13 or 14 years after my injury. It was more like 10 years after my injury. I was at a facility, and it was, sort of that feeling. It was a facility down in Orlando, and I went into the gym, and I kind of had that feeling like, okay, this is more like my alley, It was very, you just had a sense of normalcy, I think, instead of feeling like you were in like a hospital setting and like you were being treated like a patient. You were really being treated more so like an athlete. And I was like, why does the average person have these, millions and millions of gyms to go to, and they can just go in and work out? Why can't someone like myself or someone who's facing physical limitations go into a place where they can be comfortable and treated, like anyone else, and be pushed and be motivated and not coddled, and but just somewhere where they can, have that sense of discipline and structure and motivation and purpose, So I think that's where it really came from. And when I was down in Orlando, I was like, I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do this. So I kind of just set it in my mind that, eventually, if the opportunity came about, I would take it.
Hey everyone, just a quick interruption to show gratitude to our sponsors and give you some special deals. So I don't have kids, but I also want to tell you about It's Your Magazine. They're a national family-centered publishing company with free parent magazines. They have parenting advice, events, and inspiration. I'm actually in a networking group with the publisher, and this guy is all about family. You can view a free magazine in cities in Texas, Oregon, Washington, and Florida by checking them out at itsyourmagazine.com. And insect. So I've always felt iffy about pesticides. Then the mosquitoes got so bad, I would get covered in them from walking from my house to the car. I called Insect, and to say I've been impressed is an understatement. When the treatment wasn't quite doing it, the owner actually came to my house. He found the breeding sites, identified the species of mosquito, and adjusted my treatment to that species. That's when I found out he's also a beekeeper, and pollinator issues are always top of mind. So if you're in the Florida Panhandle or Gulf Coast of Alabama, give him a call, ensec.net. Now back to the show.
So fast forward to 2017, my father passed away, and I inherited some money, and I was like, what better way than to pay it forward and give people the opportunities that I've had, because obviously, I am well aware that not everybody has had those opportunities, and I've had an incredible support system and incredible family who's given me all the opportunity I needed to thrive in my life, and I wanted other people to experience that. So here we are.
That's amazing. My brother has cerebral palsy and uses a wheelchair, and growing up, he was on a wheelchair basketball team.
Yes.
And his teammates came from different parts of the state. It was Nebraska, so more rural areas where, the basketball team was only in Omaha, and it was so cool to see the transformation that you're talking about from going from the hospital and the rehab center to the gym. I think I know what you're talking about, because it's a shift in mindset that we got to see some of the team members of the basketball team experience. The parents experienced it, because it wasn't about ticking off those minimums. It was about, what am I capable of? It wasn't about the disability. It was about capability. And
Absolutely.
it was so amazing. But after, they aged out of that, I'm not sure there were systems or programs or facilities that were equipped to help them live a lifestyle of wellness.
Right.
And same here, I volunteer with a swim team that has students of all abilities in it. And I was thinking how cool if they could cross-train. So at your gym, do you have student athletes, or is there a minimum age requirement to participate and be a member?
We serve anyone above the age of 8, and our oldest client, I believe, was 77 maybe, when he ended up having to leave for certain personal reasons. But so we serve a variety of ages and disabilities. And again, it's, kind of going back to what you're talking about with the basketball thing. It's, a place where no matter your age, no matter your limitations, you have a sense of comfort, because you have, other people around you who are facing certain struggles and a lot of the same things, not just physically, but emotionally, financially, whatever it may be. It's just a place where everybody can somehow relate. So that's been pretty incredible to see as well.
Tell me about your staff. Do they have any special certifications that help them train people or assist people in their workouts? Yes.
So all of our staff are certified personal trainers. However, we do have our head trainer has 9 years of experience as an occupational therapist assistant. She's worked in the hospital setting. She's does adaptive yoga, so that's another service that we provide, which has been pretty cool. So she's worked in the therapy setting, and just is really thriving in the gym environment, because it's just it's a different approach, and it's just exciting for her to kind of have a little bit of. She still works in the hospital setting, so she kind of does both. So it's been cool for her to experience it from a different angle. And our other trainer is a licensed physical therapist. So again, very experienced, very educated, and same exact thing, does both some physical therapy with the hospital and then works at the gym with us. So just a different dynamic for everyone. And then our third trainer is, she's a certified personal trainer. She works at our gym, and then she works at a women's fitness gym in Daphne. And she worked in the physical therapy setting as a tech for 8 years. So they all have sort of the experience of helping people with limitations, but also helping them progress and get better. And so they're all really thriving, and our clients are as well because of that.
What are some of the more memorable milestones that your members have achieved by being a part of the gym?
The first one that comes to my mind, one of our members who's been with us since the very beginning recently walked his daughter down the aisle. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so he's a paraplegic. He fell out of a hunting stand and was paralyzed. And he told us from the very beginning that was his goal. So it wasn't just a physical milestone, it was just something that was very close to our heart. So that was pretty incredible.
That is pretty incredible.
Yeah. And he did it, and he danced with her.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's what's so special about working with athletes, in that is, there's a level of motivation and drive.
Yeah.
Each person's motives are personal, and
Very,
you get to
very.
know them and see it happen.
It's all very life-changing, every single milestone, big or small. So,
can you tell me about how some of the equipment is different than the standard gym?
So some of them, one is made for chair users, so it's essentially shorter, but it's a heavyweight machine, so somebody can use it in a wheelchair. Someone can use it if they just pull a chair up to it or a weight bench. So it can essentially be used by anyone, but is created so that someone in a chair can use it. We have one that was actually designed by a quadriplegic, so someone with minimal hand function. So you're able to sort of control the weights and control the handles and stuff with just using your arm and your wrist if you have, minimal hand function. So otherwise, we have a lot of equipment that you might find in any other gym, but we just make sure primarily that all of our exercises are modified around the person. So it's just a very personal experience. We do have a functional electric stimulation bike, so it actually creates impulses in your legs or your arms to contract the muscles so that you pedal the bike. So that's something that helps cardiovascularly and helps with range of motion and helps with the overall movement so that someone can stay strong and healthy.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
You said wheelchairs, but people who use wheelchairs are not your only clientele.
Not at all.
Can you kind of tell me the scope of the abilities of your clientele? Like if someone's listening to this, what are some examples of abilities that would allow, like clue them in that, oh, I could be a part of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've served clients with orthopedic injuries. We've had someone with a hip replacement, a knee replacement, someone who had a debilitating back surgery who's actually just, relearning to walk again. And we have clients we've had transverse myelitis, spinal cord injuries, which range anywhere from paraplegia to hemiplegia to quadriplegia. We have traumatic brain injury, anoxic brain injury, people who may walk in a door and you have no idea that they've had any sort of injury, but they may have limitations with their coordination and balance or vision. We have a slew of different limitations, but we can essentially serve anyone that walks in the door.
And you're just getting started. Or rolls in the door. Because
Yes.
you just opened in 2019.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the best is yet to come.
Absolutely.
Well, before we wrap up, I want to know two things. And one is definitely going to be where can people find you? And then the second is, what do you feel people misunderstand about wheelchair athletes?
I think that one misconception about people in chairs or with physical disabilities in general is that we are just like everyone else. We work just as hard and we're just as capable. It's just in a very different way. And sometimes I think, we bring things to the table that maybe your quote-unquote average person, may not, because we see things from a different perspective. And so I think that there's, we have strengths and weaknesses just like anyone else. So just to never underrate.
Don't underestimate them.
Never underestimate someone with a disability, for sure. And then as far as finding us, you can find us at www.the7proj.com. It's just short for the 7 Project.
So it's PROJ.
PROJ, yes.
Excellent. And anything in the future we should know about?
Well, our big goal right now is to have a bigger facility.
Okay.
So that's just what we're working on right now. Our lease is up at the end of the year, and we're hoping that at the end of the 3rd year, we're going to be able to get into a bigger gym and have more opportunity for our clients and for growth. So
any angel investors out there?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Well, this has been
a lot of people that
so
could benefit
awesome.
from it.
Well, I'm going to put your information in my email, and it'll be in the show notes too. So if you're listening or watching and you don't get those emails and you want to, just text REAL, REAL, to 66866, and I'll have all of the clickable resources in there, along with some of the key points that you shared, so that people can absorb them and share them. So thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Woo! Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, you might also like the episode about the football player who had 2 spinal cord injuries and now works as a policy changemaker for Americans with disabilities. It's episode 41. You can watch other similar episodes on my YouTube channel playlist called Differently Abled. It's youtube.com/meredithforreal. Stay tuned next week when I talk with an entrepreneur who is convinced that the key to giving your latest idea legs is to start ugly. Talk to you next week.